You're watching Melanie's Matters TV and radio show. A word from our sponsor. Before we begin, please click subscribe. Chanel Johnson and Philip Williams presents What You Should Know About Education.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Melanie's Matters. I'm excited about today's show. You guys know I'm always excited because I try to educate on all the forums that I'm on. So today, speaking of education, we have educators with us today. So please introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Chanel Johnson.
Okay, Ms. Johnson.
And my name is Philip Williams.
Okay, and Mr. Williams. So the goal today is to talk about the educational system. So this is a perfect opportunity for us to get the inside, because we know how politics work and everything. You hear stuff from the outside sources, but not necessarily people who are on the inside. So I'm going to ask you guys this question starting out. First, talk about the history, your history in education.
Okay, well, I've been teaching for about a total of 8 years. I started off at a level 5 alternative school, which I met you all through. And I currently work for a charter school in Baltimore City, for Baltimore City Public Schools. And I service 7th and 8th grade students.
So what is your history in education?
I started out at a level 5 alternative school, of course, where I met you guys at. It was the Youth and Transition School in Woodlawn. I had a 2-year plan that turned into a 9-year plan.
Wow.
Wow. And it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. The promotions, fortunately for me, kept coming.
Right.
Different opportunities to excel and go higher. But my educational background is more or less in the area of special education as it pertains to behavior. After my tenure was up with Youth and Transition School, I went to Baltimore County Public Schools. I currently work at Overly High School right now, where I'm a football coach and I do behavior intervention with the kids there. So
okay, so obviously we have a lot of years of educational experience, right here on the couch. So that is excellent. And then myself, I was in education as well. Started out as a home daycare provider, then went to Youth and Transition, where I met these folks right here, and then I went on to another alternative school. So all in total, I guess I have about 5 years in education. So which brings us to the forum today to talk about education. The question that I would like to ask you guys, and just starting out, with what you know thus far, what problems do you see in education?
I'll say for these last couple of years, I'm starting to notice how big they're making the testing. And testing is great, but I think a lot of schools are being judged on test scores versus the ability of what a child can do individually. Okay. You got to understand that every kid they don't learn the same. Right. So where one person may excel on something else, one may go lacking, and vice versa. Okay. So if your test scores are great and they're high, then you get all these accolades and kudos. If your test scores are struggling, then you're frowned upon. And people even had jobs placed in jeopardy as they pertain to test scores and things like that. So that's one thing that I noticed as a concern.
Okay, and what about you, Ms. Johnson?
I would agree with what he just said, and that would tie to, for me, like the resources. I find that higher performing schools typically do have more resources, not always, but the majority of the time they have more access to more resources, whether it be material resources, whether it be funding resources, whether it be personnel resources. So I find that to be a difficult challenge, and like he said, being able to address students on an individual level versus like in these cohorts. So differentiation, I think, is also a big difficulty with education as far as a challenge.
Now, do you guys think that you see more of that in the inner city or alternative settings?
If I could just speak on YIT versus where I work now, I feel like I know more now about the position of a special educator versus when we were at.
Okay, good.
So, as far as trainings and just knowing like the laws and guidelines to education and what the students' rights are, what the parents' rights are, in the city, I feel like I have more training and more awareness and more knowledge as far as what my position, pertains to. So
Okay. Would you like to add to that?
It's so broad for me, and I don't want to necessarily go off on a tangent, but I know from where we came from when we were working at YT versus where I'm at now in a Baltimore County school setting. I never worked in Baltimore City, but I just hear kids that transfer in and out comparing, Baltimore City to Baltimore County or whatever surrounding county that they may have come from. So it's kind of hard for me to speak on that, but I definitely know that there's a difference, because where there seems to be a school system that's struggling extremely, whether it's economical or whether it's things in the community or the neighborhood or household, they seem to be a little more lenient. And I don't know if it's because they're still stuck on this No Child Left Behind, but the issue to me personally is, yes, let's not leave the kids behind, but we don't want to handicap them or enable them by just giving them something to say that they've arrived. If they haven't crossed the area of earning it or understand what it takes to earn it, and then getting help, I think that's better than just giving them what they give them and saying, okay, hey, these kids pass, but you're setting them up for failure in the future when they go for a job interview or when they're amongst the public or unfortunately in front of law. You really don't know what it is you're being set up for when you're just giving something versus working for it and understanding the value of that. So,
wow, that's a good point. No Child Left Behind, I believe, like you said, has handicapped a lot of our kids, and I'm saying our general and specific. So our meaning kids overall, but specific African American children, because like you said, now they have this. Okay, you got to give it to me.
Right.
Passing is a D. When did that happen?
I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. It's been like that for a minute, because when I was in the school system, I was like, wait. If I get a D, I'm passing. And that's nothing to brag about. But once again, like I said before we started, a lot of this starts from home, and that's unfortunate, because a lot of these homes, some homes are in disarray, and whether it be absentee parent, and an absentee parent doesn't necessarily mean your parent is not there and they don't love you. The parent may have 2 full-time jobs, and the parent may have 2 full-time jobs with a high school student and an elementary school student. So naturally, the high school student has to look out for the elementary school student. So you're talking about a lot of latchkey kids still in 2015. And that doesn't mean the parent's absent, although the parent is still sort of kind of absent. So a lot of it starts from home. And once again, it doesn't necessarily mean that your house is in shambles. It's just if you don't have that consciousness and awareness of what's going on, that shoulder, somebody over your shoulder, making sure that you do your homework. Parents aren't, I'm not saying all parents. A lot of parents aren't doing that anymore though. And I can speak for myself. I was raised by my grandparents. Well, that's an age gap in itself. And though they were extremely involved in my life and upbringing, my grandmother was a nurse. She didn't have time to check homework. My grandfather worked the evening shift. So by the time he got home, I was asleep. Homework, I did it. Whatever. And I'm speaking for me. I'm not even talking about somebody. I'll just be honest. So what you're saying, the D being mediocrity, people are comfortable with settling for mediocrity. But if that's what if I can pass with a D and I don't even like school, why am I striving for a B? Why do I want an A?
Very good point. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break.
You're watching Melanie's Matters TV and radio show. A word from our sponsors. King Motors. Ride with the King. Call 410-277-4545, or you can go visit them at 5905 Liberty Road, or you can visit www.king-motors.com. A Typical Journey, 10 True Stories Women will relate and men will understand. A Typical Journey is now available on Amazon.com or melaniesworks.com. J&F Enterprises, bringing visions to reality, building the 21st century company. Visit jnfenterprises.com. During the break, Ms. Johnson told us that one of her students asked her to help her decide who to reside with, her mother or her sister. Ms. Johnson simply asked, "Where would you be stable? Mr. Williams gave a good perspective on being professional and personal in that type of situation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So we're going to turn the corner just a little bit, and we're going to talk about being personal, with your students and how important that may be in the classroom. So Ms. Johnson, what is your perspective on that?
Okay, well, for me personally, like, I use being personal to my advantage.
Okay.
And there's different ways of being personal, right? Mm-hmm. So there's personal as far as like my personal values, my personal morals, my personal beliefs as far as about life and things like that, right? And then there's personal, like if a student asks me, for example, I did have a student ask me this. Her mother is a abuser, is an addict, okay? And her sister is basically fighting against her mother in court, or through child protective services to get custody of the children. Now the young girl asked me, what should she do? Does she testify, to support that she should stay with her mom, or should she testify to support if she should stay with her sister? Because she knows she's going to be asked these questions by CPS. Yeah, so, I told her, you say and do what you feel is best for you and your siblings. And then I had to follow that up with a few questions, because of course she can't at that moment decide, what is best for me. Where do you feel the safest? Where do you feel more secure as far as, someone's going to be home, or, there's going to be food, like those things, and this is the same young girl who comes to school every morning hungry too. Right. You know what I mean? So you can't help but get personal sometimes, because she's irritable, cranky, and sleepy because she's hungry. Right. So you can't, and you touched on that during the break about, what goes on at home. So, as a teacher, you're kind of forced to be in this place where you have to wear multiple hats. You're not just a teacher, you can be the social worker sometimes. Now, depending on what the discussion is about with the child, you decide whether or not you should take it another further step, or not, just so you're covered, because there are those, red lines and red tape. So, but as far as teaching, and my personal thoughts are, our culture is from, kings and queens, and I feel like I should project that onto my students. I feel like I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't, because they need to have some sort of like empowerment, something that they can feel connected to be better. So it's like anything personal, it's mostly my morals and my values, like what I think, what I feel, basically what my grandmother bestowed upon me growing up, So, it's just, and that's teaching in itself, passing along wisdom and knowledge, you know what I mean? It's not about what's in the books all the time, because I can't say you're going to need to know the hypotenuse of a triangle, but you do need to know, but you do need to know where you come from, and what you're capable of, so that's the personal level I get on. Like, I use the language with her sometimes. Like, do you want to be a nigga? Do you want to be what popular culture tags you to be? But so you have to be to have like true teachable moments outside of just content knowledge.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, because a lot of times with kids, you can't help but to get personal. They tell you that we're here for the children, but if we're here for the children and we're not learning about them outside of the books and pen and paper, how are we necessarily there for the children? As far as personal, like you said, there's multiple facets and different ways to go about being personal with a child. Anything of extreme personal sexual content, things of that nature, your address and telephone number, things like that. Of course, you want to maintain your professional ground and stand there firmly, and let them know that that's inappropriate. If it keeps coming, of course, like you said, and I love what you said, you get involved at a higher level to not only cover yourself, but to make it known that this kid, you know, is seeking this type of information. On the flip side of things, I don't tell them anything that I couldn't tell somebody in a court of law. I don't tell them anything that I couldn't tell my supervisor. I don't tell them anything that I couldn't tell my principal. So if they ask me and this is a touchy topic, but if they ask me, do I believe in Jesus Christ, or do I go to church, I tell them yes. I proclaim that. I don't beat them in the head with it and say, hey, you know, eat this Bible. But at the same time, I tell them, you know, I make mistakes every day like you do. But what keeps me grounded and what keeps me going is my faith. They ask me stuff like, what's your favorite football team, what's your favorite color? That's stuff that you can tell anybody. But it's not until you get a little personal, from a professional standpoint, that you can really find out exactly what's driving or pushing and pulling this kid.
Absolutely.
We talked about situations that during a break at home, you don't know what's going on at home until that person trusts you enough to get personal. That's why you got the question that you got as it pertains to which way do I go? I agree with what you said. Where do you see yourself and your siblings being the safest? Because in my opinion, this is just my opinion, a parent is not necessarily a mother or a father.
Right.
Absolutely.
I lost my dad when I was 3. Love my mother to death, but she's still an addict to this day. My grandparents, once again, they raised me, and though they're deceased right now, I know that they were mommy and daddy for me because they performed mommy and daddy duties. And that's not taking anything away from my mother, you know, but she struggled with what she struggles with. And in that being said, if she chose to go with her sister, I would hate for people to bash her. Because for her and her siblings, that's the safest route to go. People would say, well, you don't want to take her from her mother, but her mother may be the ultimate destruction for her versus being where it's safe at. Henceforth, you have foster parents, you have uncles, nieces, whoever can take care of you. They have to perform that duty. Family to me is just a word. I have friends, and I hate to say it, but I'll say it publicly, with family watching. I have friends that are closer to me than some of my family members. And I don't mean because I see them all the time. I mean, yo, if I don't have nowhere to stay, bruh, it's an extra room upstairs, you already know. Bruh, my car broke, bruh, take my spare car. And I'm not saying that don't make you family if you don't do that, but I'm talking about at the drop of a dime, they don't question anything, you know. Those to me are characteristics of family. So I pray that she goes with whoever is safest for her and her siblings, and I pray that she goes where the future is most brightest for her and her siblings. But that personal line is a thin one. Because you can call yourself getting caught up, and before you know it, you in somebody's office and you're terminated and charges brought against you.
You don't even know why.
You don't understand why, you know. And I hate to say it, on the flip side, all of us as teachers or educators or what have you aren't professional. You know, we have some people in the building, I hate to say it, they are not professional. And they cross that line. You see them at Ruby Tuesdays with a student on a Saturday, and it's not a field trip. To me, that's inappropriate. If you don't have custody of that child, or you're not coaching a sport during the weekend and you guys go out to eat with it, it's a very fine line with that. That's grounds for a whole bunch of stuff that you're probably not ready for. So getting personal with them is great. It's just that line that you have to draw and understand and when and where to, you know, do what it is that you do.
That's the focus that I wanted to bring up, because sometimes I think you could be heading down this professional road and all of a sudden you crossed over and you don't even realize it. So what do you guys think that you should do to safeguard yourself? Because we see it every day. We hear about it on the news every day.
Well, I think first and foremost there should be a relationship with the parent, and you know, a rapport with that parent so they understand. Like for instance with my program, Transformation Youth Services, like I have permission slips, I also, I meet with the parents, I speak to them, daily when the child is with me, and you just have to be conscious, like, you're not their peer, we're not, their friend, you are a teacher, you are a mentor, and that's how you should carry that relationship, like, I don't know who or why someone would think otherwise, but, that's just, some other people, but I feel that having that relationship in the appropriate manner though can be so strengthening and so beneficial to a student. Like a student will do and perform academically if they feel like number one, you care about the work I'm doing. Right. Number two, I don't want to disappoint you because I know now that, you know, we have a connection. You know what I mean? So, it's like, it's a respect, you know, and it, of course, kids need somebody to look up to.
Right.
You know, of course. You know, and so half the time, teachers, we spend more time with them than the parents.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. But in that, a relationship has been built. We talked about that before we started recording. When you're in an appropriate relationship, a relationship is being built because I work at this school for X amount of hours a day. You attend this school for X amount of hours a day. If I see you for 2 classes, or I'm over top of the lunch period that you go to, I coach the team that you play for. I'm a part of theater that you're a part of. Like you just, it's something. So you're gonna have that interaction with that kid. It's just that. And I want to grab a word that's sticking out that you used when you said being conscious, but I want to put that with another word, with being honest. Like be honest with yourself. Like where I'm ready to go down the road, and a lot of people ain't feel me.
Please, because I know what you're thinking. Go ahead.
Be honest with yourself. What is your agenda?
That's right.
Like, do you see? Because I'm gonna just keep it real. Like the average teenager these days look like the average
grown
early to middle age 20-year-old. So if you like a creepy, perverted science teacher, and this kid's confiding in you, be honest from a conscious mindset. What is your agenda? And though you think you may be getting away with something, it's only a matter of time it's gonna pop up anyway. If you're for the kid, you're for the kid, not for yourself. So with that being said, be honest and say, you know, was I not the popular guy in school? Let's turn it a bit. Let's say I wasn't the popular guy in school. This kid confides in me. This kid's popular. All his followers going to come to me. I feel like I'm still in school. You're the teacher.
That's right.
You're the instructor. You understand what I'm saying? So you're supposed to be leading and governing the way everything goes. Now, even when you have conversations, you're still supposed to lead and govern. Even if that child is doing most of the talking. You decide whether to jump the fence or not. That comes from being conscious, like you said, and being honest, like I just said. Be honest with yourself. Like, what is your agenda? Are you really trying to give back because you wish you had a student? I mean, you wish that you had a teacher the way that you can be a teacher for them? Because I know sometimes that's what drives me as far as being a football coach and stuff like that. I love dealing with my kids, even when they're making me crazy, because I had coaches, but I only had one that was solid to check on me when football practice was over. That was solid to check on me when a death was in the family. That came to my graduation for me, though his daughter was in the same graduation. I respect that. So, like you said, these kids need someone to look up to, and they feel obligated to not necessarily impress you, but to make you proud of them, because once again, it may go lacking in the household. If a parent is not there for whatever reason, and they just, you know, making sure you got lunch money or making sure you got what it is that you need, they're out the door because they work in or whatever, they don't have that sense of, I want to make mommy proud. So they gravitate kids used to talk to you all the time. Miss Melody, I think she's so pretty and she's so nice. And Chanel's so cool. She do the DJ. I remember this stuff clear as day because at the job that we worked at, I was in the hallway all the time dealing with behaviors. But when a kid would spike, it would be nothing for me if I couldn't deal with him to bring him to you. Why? Because you have that rapport with that kid that I can't reach. Being honest, once again. You have a rapport with a kid that I can't reach. Being conscious, once again. I can't reach every kid. But once again, when you build that relationship and it's personal, they feel, you know, you can be trusted. They trust you, and then that's where the success comes in, if you ask me. So
I like what you said. You know, being professional, of course, but know your agenda. Because a lot of educators, they get in this field and they're there for a reason. It's not to educate. You know, and I think we have to be, you know, very conscious of that. So on that note, we're going to take a very quick break.
Hi, my name is Tanya Lanier, owner and operator of Fresh Start, formerly known as Chelsea's. I've been in business for over 20 years. I do run 3 locations. The newest location is 137 Main Street. We do have a state-approved curriculum, which is Horton Mifflin. We focus on education and nutrition. We also focus on informing our parents of all upcoming new laws, because we are here not only to educate the children, educate our staff and our parents. We believe that all children can learn, and we do not believe that children cannot be taught the proper things that they need to take them through life. That's why we here at Fresh Start, formerly known as Chelsea's, we're here to give your child a fresh start.
To enroll your child into our Learning Center, call 443-522-2678. You had a long day at work. Now it's time to go home, chill out, and relax. But don't forget to grab your bottle of Spirits Amore, now available in 2 great tastes, Sensual Melon Breeze and Summer Skies, available at www.melaniesworks.com or call 443-790-6303.
Well, hello. This is Jackie from Lawn Jack Exquisite Events and Costume Karaoke. Can I finish my sentence, please?
Go ahead.
We have some exciting things coming up. We do fundraisers. We do
Weddings. Bar mitzvahs.
Proms. I think I'm going to let my partner talk because he's feeling rambunctious. So go ahead, Lonnie, take it away.
Yes, I'm Lonnie Jordan from Lawrence Jack Exquisite Events, coming to you from Page's Restaurant and Lounge. We are the best event planning company on this year's side of town. If you need a birthday, a wedding reception, I'm the best caterer in town. And this is the best wedding coordinator that we have here. Go ahead.
Yes. Now join us April 23rd. This wig will be part of the show. It is our videoke talent show event featuring the musical sounds of Sean, Montague, Ramon. I probably said that backwards, but it's probably the cocktails. But don't worry about that. Just join us April 23rd from 8 p.m. to midnight. It's going to be a show to remember. We're going to have live performances. We're having a cash prize. Visit us at www.lawnjackevents.com. You can reach us. I'm Miss Jackie.
I'm Lonnie.
443-939-8533.
443-388-4737.
And this is Mr. Lonnie Jordan, because I think he got a little excited and didn't give his name. But nonetheless, this is going to be a show to remember. You don't want to miss it. The show is going to be hosted by Phoenix Rising, she's a fantastic comedian. Lawn Jack is very active in the community. We do food drives for Pimlico Elementary, underwear drives. Please check us out on our website again, www.lawnjackevents.com. Hola.
Back to that event. Oh, I didn't get my comment.
The raw conversation that happened during the break. Are parents secretly jealous of their children?
No shot at them, but like if you're asking for help, we got to get to the root cause of it. And that's what I see early and often too much. A lot of times we ask for help, and the way that help comes, we don't want it because it's bruising. Yeah. Sometimes it hurts. You know, when you go to the doctors, you go to get healed, you go to get stitched up, you go to get medicine. It don't
because
always
that's the body saying to you, this is what's wrong.
Right.
And how to change that language, I don't know.
Right.
Because it is what's wrong.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And people get so offended, even though the help could be right here, but you're still receiving that message, this is what's wrong. And nothing is wrong from my thing.
Right. I want to pose a question to that parent that's struggling like the most. You know, you want to ask them questions like, you know, well, what have you tried already, or like, what is it that you want your child? What vision do you have for your child's future? Like, do you have a vision?
That's what I was gonna say. So what do you get? Like when they say, well, I don't know, then what is your response? Because that means you're starting at 0.
Right. I mean, what did the parent not get to accomplish that they've always wanted to accomplish? You know what I mean? I feel like not so many parents are as persevering in being able to continue their education, work the two jobs, and be there to check the homework. Like, where's the mentality for that? Where's the care, the concern, the urgency? Like, we see it on the news every day. People getting shot broad daylight, you know, grown women getting stabbed, and you know, like, that was somebody's mother.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's, and we talked about this earlier on, we talked about, like, the mental health, which is, like, you know, I mean, it's still tied to education because, you know, the child can't grow in an unhealthy environment.
I think as it's related to what the parent wants for the child.
That is so deep.
You took the words right out of my mouth because I was about to say, let's go a little deeper.
It's so deep on so many levels. You have parents who will want to meet you halfway. Then you have those parents who don't give a damn.
You have a lot of parents that aren't necessarily educated beyond the potential of their child. And I'm going to say this, and this is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, but this is just what I've experienced. A lot of parents are secretly jealous of their kids.
Yes.
When you grew up in an environment where you might have went to school where counselors or therapists or teachers or administration, they probably weren't as effective. Now I'm not saying that they weren't, but in some schools, depending on where you went, they weren't as involved. They just want to push the numbers up, get the test scores up, get you out of there.
Right.
Now people are being held accountable for doing what it is you're supposed to be doing, what you were hired for. And I'll say that I work with a wonderful set of counselors at my job, but a lot of these parents are their worst enemies, not all.
We're back. Next topic is labels. Where do they come from?
Guys, we're back. We're still talking about education. And it kind of ties into a little bit of everything, as you can tell. The dynamic of education is just so deep on a lot of different levels. So every aspect of education is played out in different areas. So we're talking about education still, but special education and the labels that our kids have. So what do you guys think about some of the labels? Particularly behavioral kids who tend to get these labels of having behavioral or emotional problems.
I think it's as a special educator, you know, we have all these different labels for our children that come from science, right? Okay, which we could go back,
right?
You know, we could go back. But let me just speak a little bit to the history of. So in special education, in order for a child to receive a label, they have to go through a series of assessments. There's academic assessment where they get tested in their academic levels of reading, writing, and math. And then they have to take a cognitive or psychological intelligence assessment, you know. The history of this, the IQ test or the psychological assessment, you know, it's a very old method. You know, it dates back to, you know, the early 1900s at least, you know, with Alfred Binet. You might want to look him up and look up the history of some of these tests that our children are being required to take. So you can just find out, you know, where it comes from and if it's even relevant for your particular child. Because, you know, a child having a behavioral issue is not something that a pill or some medicine, you know, they need some physical exercise, they need a balanced, good diet, you know, they need sleep. I mean, these are the basics, you know, these are the basics. I mean, you know, and I'm gonna leave my piece on that as far as the labels. But when I see a child with an IEP or a student that has special education accommodations, like, that's not what I see when I look at the child. I don't see, oh, this is ADHD child.
Right.
You know,
right.
you don't see that. What I see typically, you know, if I do know a little bit of the background history of the student, you know, which all teachers should, you know, then you can make I feel like a more sound assessment versus academic and psychological tests, you know. So the other thing about getting a label and being qualified to receive special education services is if the academic level is here, but the psychological or cognitive assessment is here, they don't receive services. Okay, because they're performing beyond what your assessment is telling me that they can. Now, if they are performing below what their cognitive level says that they're capable of, then yes, they can receive accommodations to push them to that level. Now, this is the hit. If your academic is low and your cognitive is low, you do not receive special education services.
Wow.
Now that I didn't know. I've been removed from the system for a while, but that I did not know.
And that's probably the most frustrating thing, because I have students who are grade level readers, might struggle a little bit in the area of math or writing, right? But I mean, phenomenal above grade level reading, they still get their accommodations. Then I have a student who cannot read on grade level. I personally feel as their teacher is definitely capable of learning and progressing, but he can't. On paper, he's not receiving IEP, individual educational program accommodations. You know, and that's not fair. That's not fair at all. And you're already throwing them into an inclusion classroom. And if you don't know what inclusion is when you have what they call mainstream students together with students who have educational needs or IEPs. So, you know, and that's one of the challenges as a teacher, is being able to differentiate for the student who is on grade level and the student who's on second grade level. You know, like, that's a big gap, you know, and a big task for one teacher.
These labels can start off at home.
That's true.
Point taken.
You know, I keep going back to the home.
Right?
If a kid is extremely active, back in the day, I know I used to hear people saying, "Oh, he hyper, or he ADHD, or he this, or he that." You speaking that over your child. Now your child's receiving that and hearing it and taking on, believing in what it is that is being told them. Or you crazy, you just like your dad, just like your uncle. You can be just, and you keep hearing that over and over and over and over and over. You perform that same way in the school setting. Now you having IEP meetings or meetings with a therapist or counselor or what have you, and the parent at home is frustrated because the kid he's active, but the parent's not active enough with the kid. So if he's outside running around, he's involved in the sport, he's riding his bike more, he's doing things, he's outside, he'll probably get that meshing, that where he's good, he's balanced. He's running around in the house and you calling him crazy. Now something happens at school, they want to meet because this is the third incident. They want to take him to a psych doctor, he gets an eval, now they want to give him a pill. The pill calms him down, it's a temporary fix, it's not even a fix, it's a temporary gesture. And the parent accepts it because she likes the result of him not being as active in the house as he was prior to. So now that the parent has accepted it, the child has accepted it all the more. Not only have you labeled the child, the community itself is labeled. That's crazy Johnny right there. That's hyperactive Billy over there. Because that's what you've labeled him. That's what and you know what he does? Everybody's saying it must be true.
That's that learned helplessness.
Everybody's saying it must be true. Who am I to change it? I mean, even though it's about me, it must be true. So the labels and the titles and things of that nature, they come from multiple different facets and areas. You know, you could be the not so cool kid in school. If your clothes aren't the freshest these days, you're dirty. You don't even have to be dirty. You just don't have true religious and joys on. You dirty. You know what I mean? So with that being said, now you the dirty kid. Or you the female that don't really get along with a whole bunch of girls and you talking to a lot of guys, but you're a tomboy. You play every sport you can as a female, you're a tomboy. So now you're in the locker room just like the guys, just in the girls' locker room. Now you're a thot. You're a freak now. Why? Because you're just as competitive as the boys? She probably never had a boyfriend in her life. Or maybe she had one or two, but that don't make you a freak. You understand what I'm saying? These labels, they just come and they stick if you accept them. But unfortunately, our kids don't necessarily know how to defend themselves or to not necessarily accept what somebody else tells them they are. You know what I mean? So by the time they grow up to get to that point, you already that label.
And that's deep. That is deep, and something that you said, you know, it starts at home. I think we talked about that a little bit earlier when you talk about being called a nigga or you know a bitch at home. Yeah. So that's what you perform.
Man,
you perform that in school. I can't even keep count of how many videos I've seen where the kids in school are just off the chain, and you can only imagine. My only thought is, what the hell is going on at home?
Same thing or worse.
Yes.
Same thing or worse.
Yes.
I would love to flip this though. I would love to come from. Let's go back to the house though. You know me. I'm stuck at the home because it's teachers out there like you and instructors like myself and teachers like when you were in the system that are absolutely for the kids and will do above and beyond. Sometimes risk. I'm gonna just jump up there. Sometimes risk your job for doing things beyond what you're supposed to do for the kids. But some of these kids know the system better than we do.
Yes.
So they play the system.
Yes.
Now I'm going to, I love you kids, but now I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Some of these kids know that I can push Miss Chanel buttons. I can smack her glasses off. And if she hit me, she'll lose her job. So now little Billy want to take over the classroom. He know ways to, so it's a tug of war, believe it or not. Because you don't really run anything at home, because your mother, father, or whosoever, they tell you what to do, when to do. So some way, somehow, I'm the little brother. So some way, somehow, I gotta feel some sense of leadership, and it's natural for a man to want to be a leader. That's just, but sometimes we go about it the wrong way. So I'm gonna go in the classroom and take it over. I'm gonna take the class, I'm gonna take the school over, because I know.
I saw that at YIT.
Oh,
I saw that at YIT.
Oh, yeah.
People that really love these kids, some of these kids will take advantage, and that's a deeper level of insecurity. That's a deeper level of being off a little bit.
I remember getting spat on. One teacher got stabbed.
Oh
Yeah, it's like and that just speaks to like teachers, like real teachers. First of all, I think this is my personal opinion. I think some of the best teachers are the ones that weren't trained to be teachers. Because you have to have so many other skills to just manage your classroom, let alone teach. You know what I mean? You got to manage first.
You don't always want the book answer either. I'm not shunning education at all. I think if you're gonna go get your education, please go do that. Go do that. I'm not shunning that at all. But sometimes what's going on, like what we spoke about prior to filming. We had a young lady that was in our school setting, and she stated, "You worried about me doing work? I don't know why I'm resting my head at the night." Sometimes they don't want you to pull a textbook out and say, "Well, when they say that, then I should say that." They really need to know that you care. They really need to know that after you punch out, that you're gonna try to find out where it is they can go. They need that Joe Clark lean on me. Now he in his car in the neighborhood after work, and that's that fine line. That's that fine line because you want to be careful.
Right.
But like I said before, when you examine yourself and you're conscious, and then you're being honest, it's nothing that you should be able to tell somebody in front of a board of education, a court of law. I can tell you whatever it was I told Johnny in your face the same way I told him.
I think that's why we all worked under Dr. LaTosha Brantley. Although I think some of her methods were a little off, but I think for the most part she reached the kids.
Absolutely.
She reached the kids, and sometimes I'm like, is that lady proud she got kids riding in her car? And it wasn't the norm, but she was able to reach those kids. I remember many days she would go to people's houses, knocking on doors. You supposed to be in school, you supposed to be in school. Why aren't you in school? You don't hear that. You don't hear stuff. So Dr. Brantley, my head goes off to you a million times, really a million times.
And she recognized the staff there that was doing she did that.
Yes, she's I think she's in Georgia now. I think phenomenal. She was a phenomenal leader. I learned a lot from her just by watching her.
That's above and beyond books, though. Like you said, when you go on the clock at your job, going to somebody's house that's not a truancy program put in place.
That's right.
You just
That's
do
right.
what you do.
That's right.
Yeah, that takes a special talent. That's a risk.
I mean, you got.
But it is.
You getting the kids' attention. You getting the parents' attention.
That's right.
Because I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, the majority of those people that she went to that house, the parent was probably home. So what that does is put the parent on blast. Like
why you allowed? Why is he here?
Why you even answering the door? You should be pushing him out of the door.
That's right.
Versus the granted, you might not have to work today, or granted, you may not have a job right now. But why you letting little Billy stay home? Hey, I ain't knocking on your door. I'm supposed to be doing observations.
Hello.
I'm on the other side of town, knocking on the door, trying to get a kid.
That's right.
Crazy.
That's right. You were gonna say, Miss Johnson?
It's 2015. You know what I mean? Like all these old methods of testing, methods of it's gotta go. Like if we really need change, something like revolutionary has to happen. Like it has to be something like out of the ordinary, not the norm. Right. It has to be. It has to be Joe Clark. You know? Yeah. It has to be. I mean, you know, because we're not dealing with the same type of issues we were dealing with when we were in school.
Or the same type of kids.
Right, exactly.
I'll go a step further and say I don't disagree, and I'm not saying that you do. I don't necessarily disagree with the testing. I say do the testing, but give them what it is they need to test properly. Explain to them why testing is important. Let them know it's a competition. It's okay that you wanna push them to the fullest of their ability. If you make it a competition. You know, we have rival schools because, you know, as a coach, there's certain games you just look forward to playing. I'm not about to practice light at all, but I'm definitely not practicing light this week when I know we playing X, Y, Z. We're going to do a little extra, so do a little extra and let them know how important the testing is. And that may motivate them that much more to take care of what it is they have to take care of at home. Preparation is important. You know, eating a balanced meal if you can get that, you know, and finding who it is and what it is that you need to be properly prepared to take these tests. Like a lot of these kids, they see, I'm a grown man. You put an exam in front of me right now, I'm panicking. I'm telling you, that's just me. I'm not, you know, educationally challenged at all. It's just that the pressure is on. If I fail, this might have came from elementary school. I just don't know. I just don't. And then I tell myself the same thing I just said. I speak that over me, and I need to change that starting today. Man, I just don't test well. I say that, and it just rolls off my tongue. And I play that back and forth in my ear, and I tell myself I don't test well. And then what happens? I don't test well because I don't prep. I don't believe that I'm going to test well. And as a grown man, if I feel that way, imagine what a child. You know, may feel come across. So.
Absolutely. On that note, we're going to take a very brief break.
You're watching Melanie's Matters TV and radio show. A word from our sponsors, Kaj, bringing back black hair care products to the African American communities, located at 4326 York Road. Business owners and artists, you can be in a reality TV show. Visit entrepreneursofbaltimore.LLC.com. Do you love music like Love Me Tender and Without Love? Great! Make sure you go to DonaldRobinsonMusic.net so you can hear all of Donald Robinson's songs.
As I look at my life, it was barren.
During the break, we spoke about youth being individuals. This is what the educators had to say.
Across my desk. And with that being said, like a lot of kids feel like they're not in because they don't wear a certain thing. I said, Phil, you always got Jordans on you. I work, sir. You are at my job. At the same time, don't think that you got to keep up with the crowd because it was a time where I didn't wear Jordans. And I don't just wear Jordans. I might wear some loafers one day or some wings. I like your wingtips right now. You understand what I'm saying? With that being said, like I like fashion, but that doesn't make, because if I go to Walmart today and put a hoodie on, I know how to spruce it up. Like, yo, that's fly. We get a J. Crew. No, I'm too big for J. Crew. I can't do that. But what I'm saying is a lot of kids really get stuck on, you know, what's in and what's out. They don't have their own individual sculpture of who they really are. You understand what I'm saying? And they don't know that because they haven't been taught that it's cool to be you. You know, a lot of kids take it a little too far and then try to create somebody that they're not. I'm so different. I wear fur hat. You don't even like fur. You're just doing that because you're trying to be different. Embrace who you really are. If you're an artist, you like to draw. Everybody's not a rapper. Everybody's not an athlete. If you play the piano, play that piano. Women love that. If you can sing. Women, I try to tell my homeboys, listen, that's your thing, do that. You know, you ride bikes, you build, you draw, you paint. Embrace that because that's when you're going to be the best you, because that's what it is you're probably destined to do.
We're back. Next topic, teaching to the test and curriculum.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We're having a blast. This was supposed to be serious, but it is and it's not. You know, we're just having a conversation about some things that we see or have seen in education that probably need to change. So we're just trying to bring to light some things that we see so that you can see, and then maybe some change can happen. So that's what this forum is about. So we're going to talk about curriculum, and we're going to talk about teaching to the test. So what do you guys think about that?
As a teacher at my school, we're discouraged to teach to the test. So
well, that's good. That's different.
Yeah, we well, first of all, we're what they call an expeditionary learning school, so we have a different approach to curriculum. Okay. But I mean, the content and everything is the same. So we follow the Common Core, the new Common Core, and just like my personal opinion on that is just I feel like whenever there's change, there's got to be some time that it takes to get to the result you're looking for. Yeah, and the fact that it's tied to basically my salary, how a child performs, it is now linked to our evaluation, which I don't think is totally fair. And then I want to quote something from the actual Common Core, just to get you all stuck.
Help me out.
All right, it says, quote, "These standards are aligned to the expectations of colleges, workforce training programs, and employers." Okay, but it also touches on what you said about creating competition, and especially amongst foreign countries. Now, I'm gonna pose a question to you all.
Okay.
It now says these standards are aligned to the expectations of colleges. I like that. I like how that sounds. Workforce training programs and employers. Now, I think that's all well and good on the surface, right? But and I'm gonna quote something one of my graduate professors, Dr. Hudgens, said to me. It's as if we are trying to create the worker one. And what a worker one is the person who comes in, they clock in, they do their job, they clock out, and they live with that security of, I get paid every 2 weeks, right? But I don't feel like we are teaching our students how to think outside of what an employer wants or what, going into a workforce training program. Like, I feel like we need to be developing more leaders and people who are asking more questions and then seeking the answers to those questions, inventing and innovating, things, because technology is to the point that we talked about this earlier too. Like, you can learn anything. Yeah. You can learn anything off of. You could watch YouTube and learn anything. So for them to have this new standardized testing, which I never received any training on how to teach. I've never received training on how to teach Common Core. I never received training on how to teach Common Core.
I think she made that note.
So you have to hear when you see teachers being frustrated, and then the kids aren't responding because this is it's different. So I don't know. I feel like the developers of this,
which were teachers,
but also a lot of like politicians as well, because from what I read earlier, it was like a governor's like coalition, like some sort of group that came together because they wanted to get it state to state, everyone be on the same level. But again, like, every state doesn't have the same resources to teach. Every school
county,
district, right.
So
I feel like someone always has to, in education, everyone feels like an expert on something. So, and that's another thing. Like, you have all these intellects kind of clashing, and then they just agree because somebody probably had more money than somebody else and said.
Somebody said something slicker than the last one.
Right.
Now, mine was slicker. Put that.
Right. I mean, you can imagine it was probably a meeting similar to this. People sitting around the table and just making decisions for everybody else.
So you think that we're not teaching our kids to be maybe an entrepreneur or to have that higher level of thinking? We're teaching them at like the very basis of everything.
Well, that's not what they claim. Common Core Common Core actually claims to be more skill centered. Like they're trying to develop deeper thinkers, like you were saying, by the way that we ask questions, and it's some people were leery of like, is the content the same, and that varies from state to state too.
That's a ring. I'm gonna cut you off, but that's a ring around the rosy type of thing if you ask me, because let's get one thing clear. Just keep it 100. Like you're not gonna teach someone how to be a mogul entrepreneur if the competition that you're if the people that you're teaching is eventually going to be your competition. You want to stay in an area. Certain people want to stay in an area where they are, where they don't have to worry about that new spry young spring chicken coming up threatening their job. See, because what that does is knock you out the box. Keep this young guy who you can pay a lesser amount to do what it is that you're doing. So I'm gonna just give you what it is. I think you need to be a lay low worker and then keep pushing it that way. Not gonna play the race card. But then in certain instances, you have people who have their children coming up. They're not teaching their children the same stuff that they're pushing in that. They're teaching their children how to be entrepreneurs and individual thinkers and owners and bosses for themselves. You understand what I'm saying? And that's not a bad thing at all. If I had a child, I would instill that same thing. I had the lovely opportunity of raising my brother and sister, and I tried my very best to instill things in them that people gave me that was sort of kind of too late for me, but I wanted them to strive above and beyond. You should, like we talked about earlier, you want that legacy to keep going. You're not really sharing. If I could tell you how to own this house without ever paying a mortgage again, I'm not telling everybody that. I'm going to tell certain people because I want other houses that I'm not going to have to pay a mortgage for so I can profit off of it. I'm not going to tell you the secret to the success. You understand what I'm saying?
But I think he's playing the race card.
Oh.
He's playing the race card.
I said that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. Because
it is.
No, it's not. Let me tell you why it's not. Because now I'm gonna throw race in it, but I'm gonna flip it. Okay. And I'm gonna purposely throw race in it because I'm talking about us as black people. Okay. I know black people that way. Okay, I watched that interview last night, literally on YouTube. I will not say who was in the interview, but it was very heated.
I know what you're talking about.
And the individual was kicking knowledge. I'm talking about he was talking right, but his delivery to me wasn't a good delivery. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? He was feeding information. And I know it was good information because you know how you got something good and you're teaching it, but you're frustrated because the people aren't getting it? Right. It's the delivery that you're giving it. Okay. Be quiet.
Was it a person in the regular house?
I'm not answering that. No, I just said I wasn't giving any hints. I'm not answering that. All I'm saying is this individual is extremely intelligent, highly educated. He knows a lot. He networks well. I'm not saying anything else because you don't want to find who it is. And I still respect this individual. I just think the delivery was wrong. He meant well. I could tell he was sincere when he was saying what he was saying. And as a man, when you start beefing up, even if you're not about to fight, that means you're passionate. For me personally, tears come out my eyes when I'm talking about certain things because I'm so involved in what I'm saying. This guy was passionate about what he was saying, but he was not withholding the information, but he really wasn't teaching how to get to it per se. Because he was so busy bashing. So busy, you know what I mean? He didn't really, I don't think he, he was extremely defensive. I don't think he necessarily meant it, but a question was asked that got him frustrated. And he wasn't feeling the question. And it just went off from there. And it was like, I need him to come back down because I know what he had was informational. Right. And this brother is black. Now, he wasn't trying to withhold the information, but he didn't give it out as much as he could have because of his emotional state. You understand what I'm saying? So, and that was a black man. But I know other, and that might not have been the best analogy. I know other brothers, sisters that have that information that don't necessarily want to share. It's the crab mentality. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? I'm gonna pull you down. I'm not letting you get to the top. Forget about that because then who's to say, I won't be as important as I deem to be anyway. So I'm not gonna give you everything. Somebody shared some information with me the other day, blew my socks off. I was so surprised. Not that they shared it, but that information was law and it was out there. But this was a black man, and he shared it, and it was like, yo, that's something a lot of people would keep to themselves. But he shared that. And a lot of people aren't going to share that type of information because they don't want to feel like they're going to be irrelevant. They don't want to feel like they're out the box anymore. So
that goes back to mental health. Because
you can go to mental health.
but it just ties, because as a human race, like in my personal opinion, like you are here to give knowledge to those who come after you.
Right.
Like that is all.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And
That's the ones that are aligned with you.
Oh, right. And it's just like every child that I mentor or any child that's in my program, I'm telling them what you are capable of becoming. You know what I mean? You don't have to settle for just being the, the teacher. Like, you don't have to be the teacher. You can be, you could start your own school. You know what I mean? Like, we got to take it, like, beyond. And, like, as far as this testing is concerned, like, if we're supposed to be training our children to compete with, international businesses and things like that, you have to be teaching them how to be entrepreneurs. You need to, math class should be more about taxes than on the
Thanks
Wow.
you.
But you're proving my point.
And how to balance a checkbook.
You're proving my point. Why would we put that in the curriculum if that's going to teach people how to get financially free? I want you to stay financially messed up because that's where I make my money.
Who? You tell me who. Who wants me to stay financially messed up?
Certain credit card. Nope, I'm not doing that. Certain credit card agencies, certain banks, or what have you. Now, they do have credit recovery programs. They do have, financial recovery programs.
But it's still tied to that bottom thing, which is what? The dollar.
Yeah, it is.
Because if you messed up, I'm going to make money off of you and continue to make money off of you. But if I learned that in high school,
you would never.
Right. And that's the stuff that I talk to my kids about. A lot of my kids come to my office from behavior issues. They come in there talking about they're gonna do their work. They do their work, and their work is done. So I just bring up real life. What's your plan after you get out of here? Everybody's not going to college. Don't tell me you're going to college because you think that's what I want to hear.
That's right.
Tell me what you really plan on doing once you get out of here.
And that's another program. We're programming our kids. And I'm going to say this. I'm a parent that has pushed for all of my kids. You got to go to college. Why? Because I was late going to college. So I wanted them to do what they need to do on time so you can have, a better life. I had to struggle. I really had to struggle. But let me tell you something. My oldest daughter, what she did, hi Stephanie, what she did was, she didn't tell me she signed up for the Army. And when I found out she signed up for the Army, I was like, why?
Right.
Right. But I was a single mother, at the time. And so she's looking at it like, I don't want to be like you. I'm trying to be better than you. So now she's in the Army. I didn't want to go, of course, because of war, everything else. And I didn't want that phone call.
Right.
Lord. Yes, I didn't want that phone call. But she's in the Army. She's a sergeant. She's doing well. But my perception is go to school. Even though she's in school now, but at that time, that wasn't her thing. Even with my middle daughter, she wanted to do hair. No, don't do hair. You gotta get a degree. And she was like, oh, Jesus, this crazy woman. But that was I was programmed. But school is not for everyone. And I'm gonna say this, as a parent, I hated to retract that message, but you have to look at each individual child as just that.
Right.
Everybody is not school bound.
Right.
I didn't get school bound.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't get school bound until I was grown.
Listen, some of these people that have degrees paid for those degrees. Some of these people didn't even finish school for real.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just keep it like that. And I'm not, once again, I'm not bashing education. That's not what I'm doing. But what I'm saying is, certain people take different avenues. I have a math teacher that I speak to frequently at my job. Shout out to Mr. Barker, great math teacher. Mr. Barker told me that he has, I believe, 2 relatives, or he knows 2 young ladies. One went to school for nursing. One went to college for something, graduated, has a degree and all that. The one that graduated works at one of those fine stores that we were talking about, which is, I have no problem with that. But this is the degree having student who also has student loans to pay back. The one that went to the 18-month program to become a nurse, balling. All the overtime she wants. Now, she don't pay her bills off the overtime. Overtime is just extra. But the nursing field is in such high demand It's inevitable that we're gonna have illnesses and pass
Sure,
away.
sure,
And it's just what it is.
sure.
It's life.
Right.
But like, she didn't go to college. She didn't get that higher education. She went to school for nursing. 18-month program. Got out and just burst out there. Like, and she's working private duty nursing and she works for a firm. So with that being said, like, she get it. She and the other young lady, I don't knock her for going to college, but the way that it's set up out here, I know people with multiple degrees that are struggling right now.
Because you got to pay all that money
Because you
back.
gotta pay that money back.
I'm $40,000 in debt
And that's light.
from student loans.
That's life. That's life.
And that's
light.
That's a whole nother like systematic thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was raised, my grandmother was a teacher, so I was raised to believe that education equates to success. You know, which is not, like you said, it's not for everybody, but you must know how to read. You must know how to comprehend, right? You must need, you need to know at least a certain level of math. But, more importantly, like, I think people don't listen to like their innate voices that are telling them like what direction they should go. And if it is to start a business, I think for me it was like, oh, it's a lot of paperwork, you know what I mean? But I feel because as a culture, and I'm talking about black people, like if we're not confident in our reading level, the last thing we want to see is some paperwork.
Right.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying? So these are like all those little hidden barriers to true success in the way that you want to achieve it. Like, not like you said, multiple degrees is just multiple degrees. That's all that is.
That's
We're
right.
in an age where titles mean so much too. Like, I know people with doctorates all across their wall, and like my grandmother would say, God rest her soul, I miss my grandmother so much. She was so full of wisdom. Individuals are educated fool. Like, and it's not because they're not smart, it's just that the conscious decisions that you're supposed to make on a daily basis, they can't make. But you put something in front of them, they're going to dissect it, break it down, put it together, give equations for it. And once again, don't twist my words and misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm for education. Regardless of what you do, you're going to have to get educated. Even if you, let's say you start your own company, you decided you wanted to build a car garage and maintenance cars. Technology changed so much, you're still going to have to go to school to stay up on new tools, new technology, the way cars are being done. So however you look at it, you're still going to have to be educated in some way, shape, or form. It might not come in a 4-year college type thing, but you're still going to have to be educated. And I think the safety net that you were running with, as far as be educated, that is wonderful on a resume. You have a bachelor's in this, you have a master's in that, have a PhD in this. That looks wonderful. That says to them that you're cognitive enough to go an extensive amount of time of doing assignments, being on time, being prompt, being responsible. And if you put a diploma here and a PhD here, and the PhD is not overqualified, you're taking the PhD every day. So I'm not knocking education. It's just that I don't want a lot of people to get so caught up into education and then become
to work for someone else,
and not to know how to get the best out of the education that they got.
And I think for me personally, like the one thing or the few things that just going to college, like the act of being a student, right, is like you learn how to, first of all, you learn how to prioritize. You learn a certain amount of discipline because you have to be up. You learn how to have questions and seek answers through research. Those are all things everyone needs. Like if you want to start a business, you have to have those skills. You have to know how to manage your time. You know what I mean? And if not for nothing, I think higher education is great just for that because that's where the competition is. Who's gonna wake up the earliest in the morning?
That's right.
You know what I mean? What they say? And that hard work beats talent, and any day. So it's like there's nothing that none of us here couldn't do if we really
apply to something.
And that's all. I just want my kids to understand that so bad. But they're young, and that's another thing you have to remember, like the developmental stages of where they're at. But it's just like they're loud.
Look at what they're being taught though. Like college costs this amount of money, and books are more than the tuition. And how you gonna get there? You want to go out of town? Where you gonna stay? You eat ramen noodles for 4 years? All these assumptions and all that's what people say. And some people really, some people really have to grind out and go that route. But there's scholarships, there's all types of grants and things for people who are less fortunate that can't afford it. They have scholarships out for people with red hair and ambidextrous students and senatorial and gubernatorial scholarships. People have to find out the other avenues that there are in order for you to pay for college. It's there. It's just that, some people get distracted. I can speak on that because I was distracted. I was one of the people distracted about that. And it was just like, man, I'm saying my friends go away to college, like they're really going away. Like they're going to college, come home for Christmas break and they have credit cards. I'm like, man, they're growing up fast. Like, that's too much. I don't want to, I was afraid. But then again, on the flip side, starting from home, no one really pushed that. You understand what I'm saying? Grandparents were phenomenal. They taught me how to treat people. They taught me how to, operate in respect and how to be a go-getter, how to work and things of that nature. But that education piece was not necessarily there.
Wow.
Different for different people.
On that note, we're going to take a very brief break.
The educational system has become one of the most compromised systems due to forever changing educational laws and standards. You and I have control, we just have to assert it. Parents, take interest in your child's education and build a collaborative partnership with educators. Only together can we give our children the well-rounded education that they deserve.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we're just going to say some closing remarks, from the educational standpoint. I think we've talked about everything in a holistic approach today. So if there are any questions or anything or any kind of concerns that you have, please email me. I have my email address at the bottom of the screen. So what do you guys have to say in closing about our educational system?
Well, I can go first.
That's you.
In closing, I would say, and I'm speaking to parents and grandparents and caretakers of students, have a vision for your child. Share your vision with that child. Let them know that you do have, high expectations of them. If you don't have the time, which I know many families don't, but just try to take a moment out to just ask your child, what's going on in school? How's your relationship with your teachers? Parents, you should have relationships with your teachers. Question your teachers, ask them what you feel your student needs and what you want from the teacher to give to your student. Try to spend recreational time with your children, like even if it's just going down to Drew Hill for an hour to shoot around a basketball, just maybe once, twice a month, if not more, of course. But I really believe in quality time with the parent and things starting at home and doing your best to be conscious of what your child is eating, what your child is listening to, what your child is seeing, how your child identifies,
that's a big one.
Giving them a sense of independence and empowerment and just being themselves. And share as much of your family history with your children that you know, and just encourage them to be the absolute best they can be, to be successful and to challenge the norms and not to always go with, the crowd and what's considered to be, popular.
Very good points. Yeah. Very good points. Mr. Williams?
I'm supposed to follow that? Like,
oh, yeah.
How do I follow that? I don't believe I should have went first. No, Chanel, you reached a lot of good points. And in closing, I would just like to say, a great man once shared with me to fight the urge to settle for less. A lot of times we just settle and we take that as the norm and we say, that's it. I'm good with mediocrity because I was told that I wouldn't be anything greater than what I'm trying to be. So I'll just settle for this. I'll just take what it is they're giving me versus, like you said, challenging it. Not being disrespectful,
right,
but in a mindset of I want greater. And if you don't find that information from the individuals that you trying to get greater from, you keep seeking until you find that. But pardon me, a lot of what you said was true. Have goals set for yourself. What do you see yourself doing? And when I say yourself, you spoke to the parents because we all agree that a lot of this starts at home. The majority, the root cause of a lot of this is home. But I'm talking directly to the kids because unfortunately, a lot of these kids are raising themselves.
Yeah.
So with that being said, don't disrespect your parent or your guardian or caretaker. But if you know for a fact that the struggle is at home and it's not much that the caregiver can do for you right now, what are you going to do for yourself? What are you going to do for your future? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be held accountable for you. So I dare and challenge you to push past status quo. I dare and challenge you to push past what is considered to be the norm. You have to fight the urge to settle for less. A great man told me that, and that's very true. It's easy to settle for less. You have to fight that urge because we don't fight it. We just, I'll take a D, and your D's a 69 and you're 1 point away from getting a C. Well, I'll take that C and your C's a 79 and you're 1 point away from having a B. So like, just push past what you consider to be the norm. It's not gonna hurt you. So I just want to encourage you guys to continue to try to brighten your future brighter than what somebody else sees.
Wow. Words to live by, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this forum is to educate and hopefully to give you guys solutions to maybe some of the problems that you're having. Until next time, you guys take care, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Shanira Wooten was a student of a youth in transition school. She was murdered on 5/23/2009 because her system failed to help her. Her system consisted of all of the teachers at YIT, her parents, her in-school therapists, and other agencies who vowed to partake in aiding her. Words that still ring in my ears from Shanira. Why the F are you worrying me about going to class when I don't even know where I'm going to rest my head tonight? The cry for help fell upon deaf ears. A few weeks later, Shanira was murdered by her sister's boyfriend, and he received a 10-year sentence, which was suspended for 10 years of probation. Double fail. Thanks to Chanel Johnson, Philip Williams, and dynamic leaders such as Latasha Brantley, who are visionaries that want to evoke change in our educational system. Parents, students, and educators play roles in the success or demise of youth scholastics. By collaborating and showing interest, our students can be scholars and productive members of society.